Hello, here we are. We are at our first of 6 Own Your Genius series. And I love these series. They're so much fun. I am going to be featuring over the next 3 weeks, I'm going to be featuring 18 extraordinary women. These are women in my Soulful Inspired Business Mastermind. And I love the work that they are putting out into the world. I love what they are doing for an impact. These are women who are being called, they're influencers in their own fields, and they are being called to really put their work out in bigger ways. And when I see all the good work that they're doing in the world, I want to be sharing what it is. And this is what we're going to be doing over the next 3 weeks. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays over the next 3 weeks, we are going to be live here at 9 a.m. every week. On every Tuesday and Thursday, we're going to be live, except for the last one, we're going to be live on a Friday morning instead of a Thursday. So this is so much fun. This is the second year that we've done this, and it lights me up to see the work that these extraordinary women are doing, what they're putting out into the world. And it's a lot of fun to share them with you guys. As you guys get here, feel free to shout out in the comments that you're here and joining us. And as we are, and if you have not checked into StreamYard before, just follow the link that's in the notes so that we know who you are, or just put your name into the comment as well, because we like to know who's here joining us. So today I am super excited to be introducing you to these 3 extraordinary women. First of all, we've got Dana Kirchmar. Dana, I always call her my rocket scientist client, because she is a rocket scientist client. She's actually pushed the buttons before. She's been in this space of STEM and STEAM, and she's on a mission to bring a lot of great impact to women in the world of STEM and STEAM. And she's an advocate for STEAM. So STEAM is bringing arts into the world of STEM: science, technology, engineering, math. She brings the art component into it, and she'll share a little bit about that as well. Arezou Zarafshan is a brilliant business strategist, helping startup founders really build a business that's sustainable and grows and brings in capital. She's also a founder in her own right, as she's got Call Emmy, which is an app that we have on our phones that, for all you busy parents, that brings all the right services to you. And especially as we're getting back into the world of getting back to real life, right? This is going to be a place where I know that the stretch is going to happen even more, and Call Emmy is going to be a great space for you to really be able to tap into all kinds of services to help support you. And Arezou can share more about that. And then Shelly Schell is a financial advisor, and she is my financial advisor. So I love to share this because she's an amazing advisor. We've been working with her, and she sees things through a different way. She's a strategist. She also is really very passionate about helping women own their financial futures. And she's going to be sharing a lot of what she's rolling out here in the next couple of weeks, and some free offerings, which I'm super stoked that she's about to get this out. She's just been on her vision for some time. So we've got all kinds of exciting things coming up here. So I'm going to start with Dana. Dana, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing, the work that you're preparing. Just give us a little bit about information about you.
So my name is Dana Kirchmar. I'm an electrical engineer by education, and I've spent about the last 35 years in aerospace and aviation. And I've had a really, really amazing career, and I am a huge advocate for young women in STEM and STEAM, involving more young women in STEM and STEAM, getting them into the education portion, and also helping them be successful in their careers.
Awesome. And tell us a little bit about the impact that you're out to make in the world. Tell us a bit about, I know you are on a mission, so let's hear a little bit about that.
So I'm definitely on a mission. I believe that we are not inclusive enough in STEM and STEAM. STEM especially, we tend to ask the question, are you good at math, in order to get people involved in STEM and STEAM. And really the question that we should be asking is, what are the things that you're interested in, and what are the problems that need to be solved there? So we can, a STEM education is valuable to anyone, because it teaches you logical thinking, it teaches you problem solving, and there are many, many careers that are STEM and STEAM related that people don't think about as being STEM and STEAM careers, but they are.
Right. Well, give us some examples, because those are always fun.
So being a pastry chef is a STEM career. Being a skateboard park designer is a STEM career. Being a pyrotechnic engineer and coming up with fireworks shows is a STEM career. Really, if someone tells me something that they're interested in, I can come up with something that would be a STEM or a STEAM career that goes along with what their interests are.
Right, because it's basically, there's going to be some engineering behind whatever that field is, and there's going to be the science behind that, whatever that field is.
Absolutely, and it's all about solving problems, and there are problems in every facet of life that a STEM background will help you solve.
Yeah, and you are in this process right now of really bringing the A in STEAM to the forefront. Tell us why you're so passionate about that.
I am very passionate about that because as I went through my career, I lost that kind of A portion of my personality. I grew up loving to play the piano. I grew up loving to ski and climb and hike, and draw and paint and work with clay, all of these kinds of things that are the A, and I had a really great career, but I lost sight of that portion of myself, and it wasn't until I realized that I had lost that portion of myself that I started feeling healthier and feeling happier and having a more fulfilling life. So I think we need to really emphasize the A. It's an important, it's the right portion of our brain, and we're happier when we're using both sides of our brain.
Yeah, and now being really familiar with your story, I know your journey in the world of STEM and STEAM as an aviation engineer has not always been smooth and easy, right? I mean, it's been a bumpy road. Tell us a little bit about what you're learning right now that you want to make an impact in the industry with.
Well, one thing that I have really learned recently is that I shape-shifted myself in order to fit into the culture that I was in and the people that I was working with. I really lost, I didn't lose my femininity, but I lost kind of that feminine, I used more of my masculine traits than my feminine traits. And I was more about using the left side of my brain than the right side of my brain. And I lost my job out of the blue in 2017. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks that I didn't even know who I was anymore. I didn't know what I liked to do. I just lost that portion of myself by trying to become a person that I wasn't in order to have an exceptional career.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you came back home to yourself, this is part of what you want to be delivering. And we'll get more as we come back around. We'll really dig into how you're wanting to help women in the STEM careers so that they don't fall into those kind of holes. One question, and I know the answer to this, but I just really want to bring this out. It's as companies are enabling women in their STEM careers in a bigger way, they're supporting women in their careers. What is it that companies could be doing that helps helps women succeed more successfully, that we don't have a fallout at the top, at the top executive level of women leaving? What is it that can be done, that companies can be doing?
Well, I think what I really like is that the generation of people that are young women that are going into STEM careers now are a lot better about taking care of themselves and their own needs than we were when we were coming up. And so one thing that companies can do is to have more flexibility with time, more flexibility with location, where people can work, and also bringing more women to the table to begin with. I mean, there are just not enough women in STEM to begin with, and what's interesting is that even it starts out with about 35% of the STEM education are women, and then only about 25% of the graduating population are women, and then it gets down to being 10% in the STEM, in particular in engineering, in the workforce. So women are migrating away. The longer they are in STEM, the more they're migrating away from it. And so to value women and to value what women bring to the table, and encouraging women to stay in STEM fields would be huge.
Yeah. And what can women be, who are in a STEM career in a company or within their own business, right? Because I mean, we know people who are in STEM careers in their own businesses. What can they be doing to better, to take, to maneuver through that journey?
Be visible and to ask for what you want. That is really one of the big things that's hit me is when I've been the happiest is when I've asked for what I wanted. And I had a really exceptional boss one time that I had asked for something and it magically showed up, and he looked at me and he said, "Dana, sometimes all you have to do is ask. We have to just ask for what we want." Because what's the worst that could happen? They could say no. But if you don't ask, they can't say yes.
Right. So you are building a program right now. Give us some insight into the program that's going to be launching later this year.
So I am putting together a 6-month program I intend to work with tech companies to help them attract young women into their workforce and also to keep them in the workforce. Diversity is a really, really big thing in companies right now, and there is a lot of competition for women and minorities in STEM careers. And so if I were a new graduate and I was looking at a tech company that was going to just throw me into the general population and ignore my diverse, what I bring to the table that's diverse, versus a company that has a mentoring program that says, okay, for the first 6 months, I'm going to help you figure out how to find your place in the company, how to best succeed here, and how to make the most of your first 6 months in the company, then I would choose that company over the company that doesn't see me as special and important.
Right. And you just think about the long-term trajectory that person is going to get in their career, just to have that boost right at the very beginning. Right. It's huge. I mean, it's just that kind of mentorship early on can really help them on their earning powers. It can help them on their how they, maneuver in the organization, how they build relationships. I mean, it's just what a beautiful gift you'll be giving those women.
Absolutely. And it's actually going to be for women just entering the workforce, but also for high potential women that are already in the company that have been there for a while, that need this extra boost.
I love it. I totally love it. And you've got a book you're working on.
I do. I'm very excited about it.
Is there anything that you want to share about that?
Well, I just returned from a writing retreat with you and Donna Mazzatelli. And I've been working on this book on and off for the last 3.5 years. And the writing retreat just lit a fire underneath me and kind of changed the whole trajectory of my book. It's a memoir because I've had so many interesting experiences in my life, and it's an inspirational story about don't give up on what you're dreaming for, and ask for what you want. But it's also about kind of losing track of myself, and how I found myself and got back to being happy and being who I am, and being the best person that I can be. So it's kind of my journey.
I can't wait for it. I can't wait to read it. And I know you're moving through it. So make sure you follow Dana, and we'll come back to her and she can share more about where you can follow her and that sort of thing before we wrap up today. But thank you, Dana, for sharing what you're working on. And I'm so excited for this. If anybody knows some tech companies that are wanting that boost, make sure you reach out to Dana as well, because I think this is super exciting what she's going to be bringing into the world. So thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
Okay, Arezou. Let's meet Arezou Zarafshan. Arezou, it's such an honor always to have you as a client and to have you in my community. And you are, talk about a change maker doing wonderful things in the world. You are working with a lot of startups, founders, and helping them as a business strategist really help see where their potential is, how they can draw capital into them. And you're also simultaneously running your own company called Emmy, which we've talked about, and we can dig it deeper into it. You're a mom. I mean, you're balancing a lot of balls in the air, and you're making it all happen. And so I am so honored to know you, and so honored to have you as part of our community. So welcome, Arezou. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Thank you. Thank you. So wonderful to be here. I mean, this is just such a wonderful tribe, and then, I've heard your story several times, but every time I hear it, I love it. So I am, first and foremost, I'm an immigrant. I'd like to put this out there. Mm-hmm. I was not born and raised in the US. I immigrated here when I was 18 years old. And I am forever indebted to this wonderful country for giving me the opportunities that in my own birth country, I wouldn't have been given. My career also started in STEM. Yes. And I'm also an electrical engineer, but I'm hugely left brain. So it comes easy to me to think with my left brain, and I don't have a creative bone in my body.
Oh, you do. I'd argue that one.
And I, lived in corporate world for 20 some years before I exited, and I dabbled in a lot of things. But currently, I do run my own consulting firm, excuse me, where I coach startup founders, particularly women startup founders. Mm-hmm. And turning their idea into a viable business, into a viable and thriving business. Many people, all ages, have the idea, but they're overwhelmed by what to do with the idea. And a lot of times, and I made the same mistake myself, a lot of times, because they don't know what to do with it, they pay tens of thousands of dollars to a marketing agency, to a design agency, and hope that those folks can turn that idea into something. Well, what I do is I work with these startup founders and show them, the ABCs of how to build a business, a viable business. And I love it. I also, you're right, in parallel, I have a technology company. We are a technology marketplace that connects busy professionals and parents with household services. And these services range from cleaning to laundry to meals, babysitting, et cetera, et cetera. It's all on demand. You get the app, you click the service you want, you say when you want the service, and the service provider shows up at your door, and they do their job and they leave. So easy peasy. And I love it. I love doing that.
Yeah. And what a great service for people who are just balancing too many things. And this came to you because you were balancing too many things on one given day. So this is the idea that dropped in for you. Exactly. And you're like, wait a minute, I could use this kind of help. So tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah. So, when I I really didn't appreciate, the magnitude of, managing a household and managing a career until, I became a mom. And then shortly, a couple of years after, I lost my job.
Right.
When I became a mom, at the time, I had a pretty big job in corporate and I could afford a full-time nanny. So the nanny was my right hand. She was wonderful. I lost my job. I could no longer afford a full-time nanny. What I didn't lose my drive because I lost my job. I still had that professional ambition. I still wanted to be, very busy and a contributing member, in the economy. As I wanted to have that professional involvement and engagement. And it was almost impossible, being a mom and wanting to be a, thriving career woman. And so, and like I said, not everybody can afford a full-time nanny all the time. So that's where the idea came, is that we need to democratize the household manager role and really, cut it into small chunks and allow people to use the chunk that they need when they need it.
Right.
That's how it all came about.
And so the idea was there, and the idea to actually launching a product is a big jump, right? It's like, okay, I've got the idea, I've got the concept, and you have a product. You have, you're creating these services, you're offering the services through your platform. Give us a glimpse of that arcway that you've had to go through to get to this point, because I know there's other people out there who've got this idea.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know how to get to this next space. So give them a little bit of insights into that.
For me, when the idea came to me, I was very clear about the vision.
Mm-hmm.
I knew exactly, it was serendipity. It all came together and I knew what it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that really, really helped me, because I have a tribe, because I have a network, I was able to talk it out with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And as you talk it out with trusted, friends and family and acquaintances, little bits fall into place.
Right.
And so for me, I knew what it had to be. I knew it needed to be an app. I knew that it needed to be on demand.
So we can just go to right there.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. And so that gives it a track. All right, now I need to figure out how to, I've never developed an app. So how do I get my app developed? Right. And again, talking to friends and network and talking to the right people come into your journey. Right. And you put one foot in front of another. You ask dumb questions, very stupid questions. I think that's one of the things that, people are afraid of, is they are afraid of asking those questions. And nothing is stupid. Just ask. Right. And
that's great advice.
Exactly. And so for me, asking questions and talking with a lot of people, it all came together little by little, and it's still coming together. We just had a big meeting with an investor group, and they asked a bunch of questions that I didn't know the answer to. And it turned out that those questions are showstoppers. The answers to those questions are showstoppers for getting capital. So, guess what? All right, here we go again. I go back to the drawing board. Exactly. Let's figure this out. Let's dig in. Let's figure it out.
Well, and isn't that the way business always is when, especially as entrepreneurs, I think there's this jumping in and figuring things out and trying them on for size and saying, okay, I need some more pieces here. Let's go, build some more of this, what we need to fill out this whole view, this whole picture. And it's a test and trial in anything that we're doing.
Exactly. Another piece that, I coach founders on is they are very concerned about the what if. What if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't? What if it doesn't turn out the way I want it to? And my approach towards it, because I went through it too. You know, everybody goes through it. It's not foreign to me.
Right.
My question back to them is, what if you don't do it and it's something incredible?
Right.
What if this is your last chance? What if the world is waiting for this? So how do you think about that? And, you know, if it doesn't work, well, you figure it out. You make a different decision. It's not the end of the world.
And that's where the expansiveness comes for us, because when we step into places that we don't know the answer to, it can be scary. It's like we have all these not enough-isms come up. We have the self-doubt. And how have you moved beyond those? And, you know, if you're like me, I stumble into those all the time, but I've gotten better at it. So just give us a little bit of your version around that.
Yeah, I think everybody faces that. And I think women face it more than you know, others. You know, for me, again, I ask myself, what if I don't do this?
Yeah.
And how would I look? How would I view my life 10 years, 15 years from now, when I look back and think that would have been the right time? That would have been the right move. Right. You know, and today I say the same thing to myself. I am, you know, not 25. And I look back at my life and I think, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I become an entrepreneur, a technology entrepreneur in my 20s? Why didn't I?
And at the same time, you had amazing experiences in the corporate world that gave you
correct
a platform that with so much credentials.
Absolutely. So my know-how in terms of how to turn an idea into a viable product and business comes from corporate, because I've done it across, you know, multiple industries. Right. So I am grateful to that. But my you know, gift, I suppose, nugget to all the founders that I work with is, don't let fear be your stop. Don't let fear run your life and your decisions. If it's not the right decision for you for the time being, let logic be the driver of that decision, not fear. And know which one is which.
I totally love this. Well, this is awesome. What's next in your business for you right now?
Yeah, I am continuing to coach startup founders, particularly women founders, in turning their ideas into a viable business. With founders, either have an idea and they're like, okay, it's just an idea, I don't know what to do with, or they have taken it to a certain step and they're stuck and they don't know where to go next. So I love doing that work. I work one-on-one with my clients, and I help them, break down barriers and move forward. So I love doing that. In parallel, I'm going to continue to grow Call Emmy, and we are in Colorado market. We will continue to be in Colorado market for the next year and a half, and then we'll expand to Washington and California, and then beyond that. So going to be raising capital to scale it in the Colorado market. I'll be doing that for the next, 7-10 years, and then we'll see what happens.
I love it. I love it. And you have so much expertise in the realm of raising capital. It's going to be really fun to see how this all pieces together for you. And I think every time I've ever watched a startup raise capital, it's such a unique journey. And I love to see that happen. It's like I'm cheering startup founders on when they're finding the right investors to come into their organizations, and then they're making these strategic growth decisions behind that. So I'm going to be cheering you on every step of the way.
Thank you. I'm so excited. On the capital and raising capital also, my advice to startup founders is two things. One, be strategic. Two, seize the opportunity. If I may just interject a quick story here.
Please. Yeah, please.
When we were presenting to investors last week, and the person that was asking all the questions, and we didn't have good answers to the questions, rather than being intimidated and what's the word I'm looking for? Rather than being intimidated and shrinking, I expanded. So I listened to the questions and I said, I'm so glad you're asking me these questions, because guess what? I'm going to follow up with you after this meeting. And I did.
Right.
And I had an hour-long conversation with this guy who's a big-time VC in San Francisco. He's taking companies public. And he might join my board. So seize the opportunity. What seems intimidating, look at how it can be expansive.
That gave me goosebumps. So gave me goosebumps, because this is everything. If you would have shrunk in that moment and kind of like, went away, it's like, okay, I just don't know here. All the opportunity that was right there would have slipped away. And
Correct.
Instead you're like, oh, this is a great question. These are great questions, and the opportunity that's there became expansive for you. Oh, thank you for sharing that.
Oh, of course.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Arezou. And next we have Shelly Schell. So Shelly, welcome, and tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. I've heard these stories so many times from these wonderful ladies, but every time I hear them, I'm so inspired. So I get to go after you, and I'm even more inspired than I was before. So thank you. So I'm Shelly Schell, and I am a financial advisor and a certified divorce financial analyst. And that's a mouthful basically, but I founded a firm a couple years ago. It's a financial strategy and investment management firm with a group of people. And, it's all about, for me, in my 25 years of experience, it's about educating and really helping women really think about money differently and create a strong relationship that's unique and empowering. And that's all I'm about, and what my careers have been about. What's led me to this point in time where I get to be on this call with you all today, and the journey that's in front of me. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. And I know that you have a passion for women in finance. Tell us a little bit about that, Ty, and why it's so important for us to think about our finances, as we're planning for our retirement. Tell us more about that, about women's involvement in that.
So, I did mention I've been doing this for 25 years, so I've had a lot of experience around, emotions and money, and the connection that we have as women to money and history with money, through our families, through just society and things of that nature. And so I feel like in general, investing and money is very masculine in nature.
Even the language, right? We've had this conversation. You see the language is very masculine.
And so the biggest thing for me is, how do we get women to get more excited about their money and stop thinking, okay, I have shame around my past and my experiences or my knowledge, and not wanting to really think about it as it can help my family, myself, my community. And so that's really what's motivated me, is to just change the language, right? So, instead of using the word budget, which, I do a lot of financial planning, I talk about, well, these are lifestyle choices. Like, you get to make these choices and you get to align your financial situation, whatever it is, right, to your choices. And once we start embracing that and learning to think of it differently, we blossom where our money is concerned. And instead of like hiding behind this past experiences, or I don't want to deal with that, that's on the sidelines, retirement's, I don't even know, so far away. And thinking of it more like, how do I live for today and tomorrow and embrace this experience and treat it as a part of my everyday life, right? So my program, I titled Seasonal Finance, and it's all about creating habits around the seasons, right? So I know personally, and the many women that are in my life, we have these seasonal habits, these rituals, which are, we're nesting at home, we're changing our wardrobes, whatever it is. The seasons give us different energy. Even Cami talks about that in her programs. How do you feel in the different seasons? So if we can incorporate money management as simply as everything else we do every season and make it part of that ritual, right? So it's not such a routine. It's not this, doesn't have this negative connotation, and it's just a part of our lifestyle, right? Yeah. Then it becomes natural and second nature, and we shift that energy, right? We get the feminine energy out into the world of finance, and we really impact everything around us. It's pretty empowering. I feel like women who are empowered financially, really, we build a better world, right? So, right. And when we invest in ourselves, we change the world. But when we invest in companies we believe in, and we really learn about that, and we think about the impact we're having, we change history.
Right. That's so true. I mean, we think about, just kind of think about all the things that we use in our day-to-day basis. And I know that you and I have had these conversations around. Give us some examples around how women can make choices in their investing that does impact the world.
So, and yes, we've talked a lot about this, and, it's never too late to start investing either. And it's not all about investing for retirement, right? So that for a lot of people thinks like, well, my retirement may be different and I may have all these diversified income streams. When we think about investing, right, and owning different companies or stocks, or we're doing it for our own business sake, right? Any kind of investment we make in real estate or traditional stocks and bonds, I kind of narrow it down, and I think this is where you're going, Cami, is what's in your cabinet, for example? Like, right. What do you buy? What are your, it's as simple as opening up your cupboard and saying, wow, I buy the same kind of companies all over and over. And I like these products for what reasons, right? They're convenient. I don't really know. It's a habit. It's something I'm just used to. What makes you buy these products? But when you start to think about that, and you really connect your purpose, right? Like why you're purposefully buying products with the meaning behind those companies and what those companies stand for and how they contribute back into your community, into our lives, into supporting their employees, kind of back to what Dana was saying. Those are the companies that when you want to invest your money, when you feel you're ready to do that, those are the alignments that I'm talking about. So instead of just buying a portfolio of investments, right? A mutual fund or something of that nature, just having connection to some of these companies that you own is very powerful. And it creates a connection, again, that is more purpose driven versus I've got a statement that comes every month that I don't look at. It's kind of like, what does this company mean for me, my family, my community, and the world in which we live?
Yeah. And for me, I took that even one step further with Shelly in looking at impact investing. So I took some of my mutual fund, which were, all types of companies, and really put it towards companies and industries that do good for our world. And so when I think about my capital being able to create a difference from making those kind of choices, give our listeners a little bit of information just about impact investing. And I know this was something that I was bringing to the table, saying I really wanted this to be part of my portfolio. So can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. Socially responsible investing is something it's a really big thing right nowadays. And it's driven by the companies that are running their companies socially responsible. So when you're doing impact investing, you're making really conscious choices around what you're owning and why you're owning it. And again, there's so many choices out there, but I think that's what's so daunting for so many women is, right. Wow, where do I start? How do I get engaged in something like this? And that's why I go back to the analogy of open your cabinet and just see what's there. Yeah. See what you're already buying, right? And then the impact investing goes so much deeper because you're as a consumer, right? You're purchasing these. So do those align with your belief systems, right? So readdressing those and kind of drilling that down to create this impact when you're investing your money, when you're making your purchases on a regular basis, that is a huge money multiplier when we think of the economy. So I get super excited about it. But impact investing, there's so many ways that you can go that direction. Mutual funds with ETFs or buying companies directly, or even local companies like as Arezou is raising capital. These are local companies that people can invest in as well. It's just being aware and understanding ultimately your goals, your risk tolerance, your big picture, and not being intimidated by how all those pieces of your financial puzzle work to drive your life and the life of your family and the communities.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, it's one of the things, I mean, I've had financial advisors my whole career, right? And I never enjoyed my planning sessions because it was just like so cut and dried, and it was, oh, here's what this is how this is done, and da 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 da. This is just such a richer conversation that I'm having with you, and I really appreciate thinking about this plan in front of me, this what we're doing with the capital that we have, and how it's growing. That all of that just makes it's a much funner conversation. And I know this is part of what you've got a program coming out, and I'd like you to share a little bit about, and this is a free program because you've got your business that drives your business, but you have this mission to really let more people have access to this wisdom that you have. So tell us more about this. It's coming out, I know.
So this has been in the works for, many years, right? Mm-hmm. But as Arezou was saying, gosh, if I was 25, if I would have launched it then, right? But, part of this is the experience that I've been through in my career and the knowledge that I bring forward to launch this. And so it's been a year in production, and I'm just so excited. It's called Seasonal Finance, and it's, 5 sessions of breaking down a financial plan, but really making it relatable. So, starting with, purpose and core values and what those really mean to you as it relates to your money. Okay. Because if we can focus on that and build from that, right, then we can start thinking about how our money is going to move us forward in a different way. And then one of the sessions that I think is really fun and really unique for me is we do a financial vision board together. And these are all recorded sessions. You can find more information on my Seasonal Finance Facebook page that I'll be launching these within the next 2 weeks. And, it just carries you on into the definitions of building a financial program for yourself, getting invested. And you may already be invested, right? You may already have retirement accounts and things of that nature, but it's getting more engaged and understanding those in a different way, and then making changes as it impacts your life, right? Like the seasons of the year, but the seasons of our life, right? So we're always evolving, and money evolves with us. And, we just went through this incredibly unique time, right, in history. And what I've seen from that is we can learn from that and the fear and the anxiety around that. And as our money, we were related to money specifically, as if you were worried about how we were going to be able to survive or impact our financial situation by being on these lockdowns and things like that. Let's not go through that again. Let's be prepared for whatever comes or whatever we want to happen in life, not just what's thrown at us, right? But what we choose to happen. And that's what really engaged financial planning and these programs are all about.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. I can't wait for this to be out. And I know you've been filming and you've got all this good information coming. So, and we will post this in Extraordinary Women Connect when it does come out, so that you guys can find that and just connect with Shelly as well, so that you can, follow along with that. So, that's your big thing that's coming out next. And so we'll come back around. We're going to go back one more time around the circle. Thank you, Shelly, for sharing everything on this. Right now, I want to go back to Dana, and I want to ask, what one pearl of wisdom would you like to share with our audience today that is, really, taking us into this future?
So I've kind of alluded to it or said it already, but if there is something that you want to do, experience, try, do not be afraid to ask. Ask for what you want. That is like a huge lesson for me.
I love that. I love that. And what is your hope for for today and beyond 2021? What's your hope for our world?
I hope to have more young women involved in STEM and STEAM. It is really awesome to have an amazing career, and I have had one for the books. But what's more important is to have an incredible life. And in order to do that, you have to nurture all parts of yourself and both sides of your brain. And I want to have STEM turned into STEAM. I really want people to understand how important the arts are to our wholeness.
I love that. And where can people learn more about you and follow along in your work?
So right now, I am writing a curated blog, and really what it is I find the stories that are big in STEM and STEAM for a week or a couple of weeks at a time, and put them on my website, which is danakirchmar.com. And that website will be evolving as my book makes more progress, and as I make more progress on my program that I'm putting together. But yeah, danakirchmar.com.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Arezou, so what is your one pearl of wisdom that you'd like to share with us?
It has been, since I started working with you, Cami, it has been just go do it. Just go do it.
I love that.
Yes. Don't let fear be your showstopper.
Step into it.
Step into it. Embrace it. Just go do it. Yeah.
Cool. And what's your hope for the world as we move beyond this crazy past year and into the future?
Balance.
Balance. Right.
Yeah. I mean, Dana was talking about the women in STEAM and STEM and, in the graduating class, in the workforce, pandemic was awful towards women. Over 5 million women lost their jobs. In December of last year, 160,000 people lost their jobs. 100% of them were women. And,
That's crazy.
Yeah, in terms of participation in the workforce, we're back to where we were in 1988. We have lost 20-some years, 30-some years of progress. I want balance.
Yeah.
That's my hope.
Yeah. And I think, just tying this to what Dana is doing, this is exactly what she's saying is we need to look at this in a different way for women and to keep them in their field. So I think this balance piece. And for me, when I think about all these women leaving, I also think that, it just, when I left the corporate world, 2008, I was being called to do something bigger and better. And I'm guessing that some of those women that have left the corporate space are being called to do something bigger and better. And yet we still need them in those corporate roles as well, because that's going to shape our future. That's going to shape, it's like having women at the executive level, at the board level is intricate to our companies making good choices. And, I know Shelly can speak to this as well, as it's like the companies do better when, there's stats. Companies do better when there's women at the executive level, when they're at the board level. So I think that's super on point. And it's interesting how this all kind of fits together, how you guys, I didn't pick the, who's being together on which panel, but it's always magical how that shows up. So I love it. Okay. And where can people learn more about you and your work and about Call Emmy?
You can go to callemmy.com, CALLEMMY, callemmy.com, and learn about us. We are in both iOS or App Store and Google Play. You can download our app. And if you want to work with me in helping you launch your idea and turning it into a world-changing business, you can find me at www.aza.consulting.
Awesome.
aza.consulting.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, Shelly. So what is your one pearl of wisdom for our listeners?
When we are empowered as women, we can do anything. And so empowering ourselves financially is so important. And we can really make an impact in the world we live in by doing that.
And what's your hope for the world?
As we come out of a really unique time, is that we continue to embrace each other and support each other in community to grow. And, my message isn't much different than, Dana's and Arezou's, is in that when we ask, when we reach beyond, when we stop living in fear, for me, it's of money, of their finances, we grow, we expand, live fully, and we change the world. And those statistics around women and their careers and jobs, again, are striking. Shocking, really. And so when my hope is that we all come together to support each other in a bigger, even more impactful way for the world.
And I see the girl behind you on the Wall Street Girl. What's her name? I can't think of her name.
Yes, that's Fearless Girl. She's
Fearless Girl. I see her there, right?
Yeah.
Feel that energy.
Yeah. And I love her because even though I'm in place of the bull, every time I think of her and her power, and no matter, we all have a little girl inside of us, right? Who's like, we can do this. It's such a different time when you're a child and just owning our child and coming out and being fearless to whatever's in front of us. We can do this, especially as we come together in community as women. It's huge. It's very impactful.
My very favorite picture that my husband's ever taken of me is me standing behind her like that. I love that picture because it's so the fierceness of her, and it's like this strength of us, of each one of us, and so I'm just so glad she's there to remind us that. Thank you. And so the final thing is, tell us where people can learn more about you and your programs coming out, your Prism Financial. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So my program will be, you can find me on Facebook at Seasonal Finance. And then my firm, I do work with individuals and families to help them with their own planning and needs. And that's prismfinancialstrategies.com. And, it's just look forward to hearing from you. Reach out if you have any questions or if you're just curious. Again, it's really important that we just have the dialogues, right? That we get ourselves out there and talk about things that are not comfortable for us, but that's how we grow. And we have each other to do that with, right? So. Yeah.
Oh, and you have a YouTube channel.
Oh, yes, I do. I do have a YouTube. Oh, gosh, I apologize. We have so much going on. Part of what I do in my education is really talking about money, right? And how to be abundantly purposeful and just purposeful in general, anything with money. So a YouTube channel with another friend of mine, Kristen Kozad, called Abundantly Purposeful. And I am also launching a podcast with an attorney, an estate planning attorney, that's called Bloom Life, Girl's Guide to Money Matters. And again, we're just having conversations to get women thinking about money in a very different way on both of those programs. So.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know about the podcast. So I'm like, yay, more podcast.
Yeah.
I love
Stepping out of comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
Don't just step out.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Shelly. Thank you so much, Arezou. Thank you so much, Dana. This has been so much fun. I love this. So this is the first of a series of 6. Our next one is going to be on Thursday, same time, 9 a.m. right here on Extraordinary Women Connect. Thank you for joining us and catching the replay, and share your thoughts, share what your most important aha takeaways were in the comments. Get to know these women, connect with them. In fact, if anybody, what I'm going to encourage all of our listeners over the next couple of weeks is to pick out a few of these favorite people that you had an opportunity to get to meet in these interviews, and reach out and connect and get to know them in a deeper way. Extraordinary Women Connect is about connecting great women to great women. So what an opportunity to just build, it's our communities make our world go round. We've talked about this. Arezou talked about that, talking about how she just started having conversations with people to get the ideas, the seeds planted to expand upon that. That's what Extraordinary Women Connect is about creating community like that. So definitely feel free free to reach out to any of these women and get to know them more deeply. And also, just if you're being called to really raise up your voice, your visibility in your business, this is the community of my mastermind community that you're going to be meeting over the next 3 weeks. And you're going to see they're all power hitters. They all are doing amazing things in the world. And so if you're being called to really step up your business in this year, reach out to me and we can have a conversation. So thank you, ladies. It's been a pleasure seeing you all and sharing your stories and sharing what you're putting into the world. I love you all so very, very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.